Chairman. Adam Love, Mecklenburg County. I would like to introduce a resolution from the floor, resolution concerning hot lanes in North Carolina.
Okay, Chair, thank you, Dallas. Now, this was not submitted beforehand.
Yes, it was distributed, 1,000 copies was distributed to the convention members on Friday,
okay.
And it was recognized that was done so. However, we lost quorum, so that gets kicked over to today.
Okay, all right, great. So, again, does everyone have a copy of this particular resolution that needs one?
I believe the Sergeant at Arms has copies.
Yeah. All right.
Mr. Chairman, they've been distributed.
Okay, great. So the chair states that this resolution has been distributed. Representative Cleveland, for purpose you rise.
Point of information.
Yes, sir.
Was not our platform amended to include a statement concerning hot lanes?
Yes, sir. Representative Cleveland, here you are correct. Do you have a further point?
Can I make? My point is.
I think the chair understands your point. Is that the resolution may be moved. That would be a point for debate on the resolution, Representative Cleveland. The chair thanks the delegate. There's a motion on the floor to approve a resolution concerning hot lanes in North Carolina. The chair understands that everyone has a copy who needs a copy. This resolution will not require a two-thirds vote to proceed because it was distributed in advance. Before we proceed, is there a second for the motion?
I'd like to second that, Scott Stanton, Mecklenburg County.
All right, there's a second for the motion. Based on Representative Cleveland's remarks, I'm assuming there's not going to be unanimous consent to approve this, but I will ask anyway. Is there unanimous consent to approve a resolution concerning hot lanes in North Carolina? Is there any objection? The objection from Chairman Hayes. So we'll move into a debate on the resolution, and the chair will recognize the maker of the resolution for the first round of debate.
Would the chair like me to read the resolution or just debate? Okay. I'm simply making the resolution, to doubly reinforce the point that double taxation is not a Republican value. We already have a fuel tax in North Carolina. We already pay for our highways that way. Asking people to pay a toll to drive on highways that they have already paid for is not a conservative value. It's not a Republican value, and it has no place in our legislative agenda. Therefore, we, the citizens of the North Carolina Republican Party, I would encourage you to oppose hot lanes. It is a move that is more expensive than simply building general purpose lanes on I-77, and it's not something that we need to have introduced and brought into our state, period. I would ask that you approve the resolution so that we will have this on record and can hold accountable any legislators who attempt to move this legislation forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't approve of toll roads. I've never voted for a toll road. I'm not going to vote for a toll road. But the state of North Carolina has got a problem. The state of North Carolina cannot raise enough money through a fuel tax to take care of our road problem. We have to find another way to finance our roads. Tolls, I don't agree with. In reference to this resolution, we're being reductive. It's already in our platform. Our platform had more oomph than a resolution would. We're wasting our time debating this resolution. We're wasting our time passing it, and we're sticking the finger in a lot of eyes that know what the problem is and are trying to find a solution. We don't need to be told that hot lanes are not a good idea. We already know it. At least some of us already know. It's in our platform. Leave it in the platform. Vote this resolution down.
Chair, thank you, delegate. Anyone wishing to be heard in the affirmative on the resolution? You wish to be heard in the affirmative? Yes. Okay, great. Say my name, please.
John Underwood, Wake County. I also support this resolution against hot lanes. Hot lanes have been used in other places. Example, in Atlanta, they had existing HOV lanes, which are similar. They later converted those HOV lanes to HOT lanes. adding a toll to existing lanes. Traffic in those lanes plummeted. They did not get the revenue they were expecting to get, and congestion increased in the other lanes. It's quite likely that something similar would happen if we try to fear. Therefore, please vote against hot lanes and support this resolution. Thank you.
Chair, thanks, Delegate. Anyone wish to be heard in the negative on the resolution? Chair recognizes Chairman Hayes.
Well, Representative Cleveland's right. I agree with your efforts to put your ideas forth. We talked yesterday at some length, as I remember, about this body, this party, getting involved in pending legislative matters. This is a pending legislative matter. Your voice is being heard through the platform on the debate. This is not the appropriate place to pass a resolution and tie the hands of our newly elected House, Senate, and Governor. Please vote us down.
Chair, thank you, Delegates. First speakers wish to be heard to the affirmative. Yes, recognize the delegate. Please state your name and county.
Bill Green, Forsyth County. One of the purposes of having an executive committee of the County Republican Party is to inform our Republicans in the legislature of what we want them to be doing. That is one of our purposes. That's why we are here. And we should not ignore our duty and our job of why we volunteered to be part of the executive committee. Speaking to one of the biggest objections to this, that would be redundant because we've already put it in the platform. What we put in the platform is nowhere near as detailed explaining why we should oppose this idea of hot lanes. I've lived in the Atlanta area. I had to drive down those freaking hot lanes constantly, and I wouldn't go on them because I'm not going to be paying tolls. We used to have those HOV lanes, and it really helped with the ridiculous congestion that we had. Once it converted to hot lanes, then the congestion got worse and people weren't using the hot lanes. And secondarily, because we had to take federal funds we took federal funds to convert those to hot lanes. Once people complained and said, these things are pieces of you know what, we want it switched back, then the legislature told us, then we have to suddenly come up with a bunch of money that we've already spent and give it back to the federal government. Now, I don't know, because again, I don't know the exact words of the legislation right now that some folks are trying to push on us, but the fact is, there's all these strings that can be attached. So I want to say that having a resolution to reinforce the more basic principle that we put into the platform is important, and we need to again do our job as a body representing the Republican Party so that we can speak to legislation that our Republicans in office are thinking of trying to enforce on the people of North Carolina.
Chair, thank you, Joe. Anyone wish to be heard in the negative? Anyone wish to be heard in the negative? Recognize the Speaker of the House.
Members of the body, I just want to make you aware of something that's going through the legislature right now. You may or may not be aware of. Yesterday, when we had 2, 3, or 4 standing ovations for our governor, one of the things he talked about was his transportation plan, something that went to the front of the House and to the Senate. It provides a framework for identifying areas where you may want to use tolls to advance road projects that otherwise would be 10, 15, 20 years down the road sooner. That framework has been passed over to the Senate. And that framework actually requires the DOT to go down to the local governing bodies, local elected officials, to ultimately decide if they want to authorize a project through a deliberative, public, well-vetted, representative process. The effect of this resolution would basically be any senator who's in the room today to kill the governor's transportation plan, which he's held out as one of his first. Yes, because it's actually in the plan. It's in the bill that this is a mechanism, this is an option. So to do this, the net effect is you telling your duly elected senators and the House members who are here who voted for the transportation plan that you're going to hold them accountable for something that the governor wants, that he firmly believes in the DOT is an essential option. It's only an option. It still requires local elected officials to vote for it. If you don't want it, vote out the local elected officials who support the tolls and put people in who don't, and then figure out how to pay for the roads. If it happens to be be something that makes sense. But the net effect of this resolution is sending a message to the governor that you want to kill one of his three major initiatives that have come out this year. It's not like he's going to put hot lanes all over the place. We've already passed a bill that will not allow tolls to be put on existing roads. In other words, the lanes that are already there, that have already been paid for by taxpayer dollars and gas taxes, cannot be tolled. It's against the law. I was in support of that bill. I believe it was House Bill 267. They cannot be tolled. This is about trying to find a way to collect revenue that we don't have. The House and the Senate cut the gas tax. You wanted to cut it, we cut it. The effect of that is hundreds of millions of dollars over time that we've got to make up somehow. As we move forward, and as this state grows, as we add another 1 million people over the next 10 years, we've got to find a way to have an infrastructure that allows businesses and industry and everybody else to grow. Without that, this state will not grow. New only. The hot lanes, the proposal in the governor's budget is to consider corridors where they believe the economics are right to enter into private-public partnerships to build roads. And then after the debt is retired over a 40, 50-year period, which is roughly the period of time that the bonding would occur, that asset becomes the state's. Although the majority of the cost and the risk associated with building the road was incurred by consortiums who won't actually issue the bonds to do it. So then we can either renegotiate it with the concessionaire and continue the revenue. Now here's the other thing about hot lines. The agreement with these concessionaires is to have a reasonable rate of return, but it's fairly low for them to pay for the road. If they underachieve, tough luck. If they overachieve, a portion of that money stays within the transportation district where the toll was collected and it's used to improve the general purpose lanes. In fact, the tolling agreement, even for I-77, allows for an additional general purpose lane to be built. You have to renegotiate it with the concessionaire, but that's possible. But only in that corridor are you really limited to building an new capacity. On 21, that runs adjacent to 77 or parallel to it, you could add a 7-lane highway there legally by virtue of the contract that we put together. But I'm telling you, until we find another way to fund roads, I hate tolls too. I use them when I want to get somewhere quick, and I don't when I don't need to. But if we don't find another way to fund roads in the state with energy efficiency, with cars that don't even use gas anymore, we're going to run out of money to build roads. Do we want to increase the personal income tax? Do we want to increase the sales tax? Do we want to do a bunch of pilot, push it down on the counties and increase your property taxes? Sooner or later, we've got to figure out how to pay for roads. It's not easy. But it's, and then, oh, wait, how about vehicle miles per hour? That's real popular, right? So, for those who oppose tolls, please put in the resolution how you're going to pay for it. Because you're telling legislators what you can't do, but you're not telling us how we can do it. And I oppose the resolution.
The gentleman's not been recognized for that purpose. We're still in the affirmative native debate. Is the body ready for a question on this?
No.
All right, the chair is going to allow one more round of debate and test where we are with this. Any speaker wishes to be heard in the affirmative? In the affirmative on the resolution. Yes, sir. Recognize Mr. Rick.
To respond to some of these arguments that have been made about pending legislation, we shouldn't touch that. That's the very time we need to put our opinions forward. A good example, and the reason that I was so passionate about reopening the platform, I wanted to put a provision on it in there on amnesty, which is coming out of the Senate. And I don't 100% know where Richard Burr is on that. I would like to send him a message. That's pending legislation. That's the very time to be putting resolutions forward. And to respond to Speaker Tillis, this isn't about killing a whole program. It's about fine-tuning the program, getting out parts the public doesn't want, so that the governor will have a better overall program. It's not about killing the whole thing. That's not the issue here. The issue appropriate. I think it's very timely, and I urge its adoption.
Okay, since the task reform has been suggested, Sergeant Arms will bar the doors.
Yes, sir.
And no one else will be allowed to enter or exit. And we ask that the moderators be please. I need to make it clear that the quorum for today is 1/4 or 25% of the total membership of the voting membership of the executive committee. The executive committee consists of 615 voting members, and 25% of that, I think, is 154. So we need to count the number of people. What's your point? The chair apologized. I was in the air. I thought it was 25% of the members present, but I've consulted with the parliamentarian and the planning organization, and it's just of the members. So the quorum is based on the total membership of the committee. Everyone will have a seat. Assuming we have quorum, we'll resume debate. Everyone will have a seat. They want to be counted for purposes of this quorum call. I'm going to ask staff to Mike to come up. And Michael.
No, it's wrong.
Each one. If there's any guests that are not in the guest section, please return to the guest section.
But how many of those do we have?
You count that section. All right, here, thank you. Appreciate the indulgence of the committee while we
No, the state house. I'm talking about the state assembly. Right, it's this body right here. They ain't here.
We'll now continue with the debate in the negative. And the chair will ask again, is the body ready for a question on this resolution? Okay, is there any objection to voting? Hearing no objection. There is objection to voting. We'll continue with debate once the chair will proceed with negative debate. The negative. Is there anyone who wishes to be heard the negative on the resolution? Yes, sir. What purpose do you rise? Yes, sir. You rise to speak in the name.
I do, Mr. Chairman.
You may proceed.
Ron Ledecky from Wayne County. Some of you heard me introduced, and you may have heard that I'm actually the Deputy General Counsel of the Department of Transportation. We made very clear that I don't speak for the department. I don't speak for the Secretary or the Governor. I only address you today as a Republican. And in fact, I'm not even going to tell you my opinion on hot lanes, whether I think they're a good idea or a bad idea. I will tell you my opinion of this resolution. It's clear we're not going to change any minds or opinions today about whether hot lanes are in fact a good idea or a bad idea. But we have stated that opinion. We've made it clear to the platform that this body does not agree with it. The problem is that this resolution contains several misstatements of fact that are not backed up by any evidence, data, statistics, or any hard information. Adopting this resolution, as Speaker Tillis pointed out, not only potentially puts our elected officials in the awkward position of running contrary to the desire of the party, but more importantly, it codifies as an official Republican position several misstatements of fact. These are not our opinions. Some of the things contained in this resolution are just simply erroneous, and that makes this body look uninformed, irresponsible. We've stated our opinion in the platform. Let's not support that with misstatements of fact, and frankly make ourselves look a little silly when those facts are challenged. We're going to vote this resolution down.
Point of information. What's your point of information?
Council Member Burkett, I just wanted to, we can get specifics on which statements that we're referring to, so it's just not a, oh, we don't like the bill, it's not great, let's know that what we're.
I'm sorry, your point's noted that it's not about point of information. Thank you. Is there another point of information?
Mr. Chairman.
What's your point? Yes, what's your point?
For recognizing me, the chairman, would it be appropriate for the author of the resolution to respond to the accusations of
we normally continue with affirmative and negative debate, which would present the author an opportunity to do that. And the chair will, in fact, recognize the maker of the resolution to engage in one more round of affirmative debate.
Mr. Chairman, I suggest the absence of a quorum.
Okay, there's been a point of order regarding the quorum call. The chair has indeed noted that some folks have left. So, Sergeant Arnold will bar the door.
Yes, sir.
Please, what's your point?
Would that not be dilatory?
No, the absence of a quorum requires an adjournment at any time that the quorum is absent. It doesn't matter if people are leaving, if we lose a quorum, we lose a quorum. The Sergeant Arnold, please bar the door. If my subcommittee, if the Bible please suspend, if the telecommittee will please approach the front, is there a point of information? The Sergeant Arnold to get Dellings to come back is so that the body will suspend. The body will suspend. The chair will do the asking of the Sergeant Arnold. Sergeant Arms will please encourage folks that are outside to come back in. Sergeant Arms cannot require them to come back in. But if you will please ask them to invite them back in, the chair would appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, they've been asked, announcements have been outside of the door is now barred.
Okay, the Sergeant Arms informs the chair that they have requested to come back in. The doors are now barred. If my telecommittee will please, are they counted? If you want to be counted in the quorum, you need to have a seat. If you want to be counted in the quorum, please have a seat so we can decide whether we have a quorum.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, what's your point?
Does the parliamentarian know if it's appropriate at any point for convention to say shame on delegates for leaving the business?
I think the members should make that. Okay, with 141 members in the meeting, we have in fact lost quorum and the meeting is adjourned.
Mr. Chairman, before everybody leaves, the fact that you're still here means that you wanted to continue to participate in the process. Everyone who was here earlier wanted to participate in the process. In order to do so, and in order to achieve victory in the future at any level, whatever you define as